Your Daily Detroit is a show in 3 parts today. First, a quick update on the unemployment situation and top-line numbers with the coronavirus in Michigan. Second, there's a petition to temporarily allow the sales of to-go spirits from restaurants, like in some nearby states. Robyn Cleveland joins me to talk about it. And finally, I chat with Sven Gustafson about Ford's various contributions and collaborations to the coronavirus effort. It's neat stuff. I'm Jer Stays, coming to you from Detroit's North End. It's Monday, April 13th, 2020. A quick thanks to our members on Patreon who make this show go. You can join them at patreon.com/dailydetroit. And our newest member is Samir, and he joins Hunter and Keith and many more. Your support is greatly appreciated. Let's get into the show. There's a mixed bag of news when it comes to coronavirus cases in Michigan. There are now more than 25,600 in the state and 1,602 fatalities, according to official totals. The most cases are in Detroit, with nearly 6,800 cases and 395 deaths. Images are starting to come out showing the situation in some hospitals. Specifically, we're back to talking about Sinai-Grace in Detroit. CNN has gotten a hold of images of bodies being stored in a portable refrigeration unit and a sleep lab. There has been a visual verification of 5 such refrigeration units in the hospital's parking lot. There is, however, some good news in that new cases seem to be leveling off a bit statewide, as well as new hospital admissions. There's also new information on unemployment in Michigan. Although official numbers haven't been released yet, during a news conference today, the director of the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, Jeff Donofrio, said that now more than 1 million people have filed for unemployment in Michigan. That is a quarter of the state's workforce. He shared that $350 million has been paid to almost 600,000 Michiganders so far, as well as hundreds of call center employees have been added to expand the hours and operations of the unemployment hotlines. A couple of tips that he shared. First off, there are certain days, depending on your last name, to apply for benefits. And secondly, if you can apply after 8 p.m., that tends to be a slower time. It may be easier to get your claim through. So what do you think of the idea of to-go drinks when you order pickup from a local restaurant? See, some places have beer and wine takeout licenses, but in Michigan, doing that with spirits, think whiskey, vodka, gin, or anything like that, well, that's a no-go. Other states, to help restaurants, have opened this up, allowing up to 2 drinks with a meal or limiting the pours to 2 ounces. In these trying times for the hospitality business, maybe it's a good idea? To talk about it, joining me on the line is Robyn Cleveland. He's the proprietor of Norden Aquavit, and they've collected nearly 5,000 signatures online for this petition proposal. Robyn, welcome back to Daily Detroit.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's talk about this petition that has gained steam online. As of this recording, you are quickly approaching 5,000 signatures. What is it that you're trying to do here? Because I think everyone knows that various bars and other places have just taken it on the chin during this pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, it's really trying times for a lot of these business owners right now, being faced with total uncertainty, as you can imagine what it's like. So we're trying our best to give them as many options as possible. You know, not bars so much, but restaurants at least have been deemed essential businesses and are still trying to operate. So we are looking to what's working in other states. I believe there are 11 states currently right now in the U.S. that are allowing safely packaged cocktails prepared at the bars and restaurants for either carry out or delivery. And in Michigan, if you have the proper licensing right now, you can sell beer and wine to go, but not spirits. So we're petitioning the governor, if not the MLCC, the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, to enact a temporary measure to allow for this.
So that reminds me, because I've seen a few different things where creative folks might package, say, the ingredients, but to be clear, currently it's not allowed to, say, include whiskey or gin or vodka or any of those what are called spirits. There seems to be a pretty hard line there between those and then beer and wine.
Yeah, some places are doing cocktail kits where an establishment would, say, mix up the citrus and the sugar and any other non-alcoholic modifiers for the cocktail, give you a little instruction card, and you could go, add vodka or add gin to it, what have you. The issue I'm seeing there is then you now need to make 2 stops. If you're interested in cutting down your contact, you're already getting some food from a restaurant. Why not be able to get the full service package in one stop?
Yeah. One of the things that I think about with this, I think some critics might think that there are risks involved in to-go spirits. Is that the case, or is that just not really a thing?
I don't see there being any more risk than being able to go to the store and buy an airplane bottle or a half pint of booze. If you really can't wait to get home, there are plenty of options out there already as it is. So I'm just seeing this as a positive thing for business owners that are struggling mightily right now, giving them as many options as they can to increase revenue.
Right. And so what kind of opportunity could this give a business? Because at least from my experience, I know that there are a lot of places that make a lot more margin on drinks than they do, say, the food.
Yeah, in general, your costs are going to be lower for things that are shelf stable like spirits. I'm seeing reports from bar owners in Ohio that were recently granted the ability to do this just about 5 days ago now. They're seeing the average order increase by around $30. So, you look at that's depending on the cost of the cocktail, that could be anywhere from 2 to 4 drinks easily. They're allowing 2 drinks per order of food to be allowed to be sold. Looking at this from a business standpoint, this is inventory that they already have for the most part. So it's a way for them to generate revenue for money that they've already spent.
Yeah, and that seems like a really large amount to add to an order. What is going to happen if we don't take actions like this? What is going to happen if we don't get a little bit more flexible with what to-go options people have? Because it seems like, and I had another interview today, it seems like Michigan's restrictions are, in fact, a bit more intense than neighboring states.
Yeah, as far as all the other restrictions that are going along with the issues that we're facing, I don't know where Michigan ranks, but as far as the restaurants are concerned, we're doing our best to work within the parameters of the law to keep everybody safe. I think the consequences are we're already seeing places close permanently. We're already seeing reports from the National Restaurant Association that a few more weeks of this or one more month of this, we could see the permanent closure of up to 33%, I think is the number that they're reporting. 33% of all restaurants. Let that soak in for a minute.
So that's 1/3.
Yeah, significantly changed the landscape of the hospitality industry, dining, everything in this nation permanently. I don't want to see my friends lose their livelihoods. I don't want to live in a place that we're not supporting these small businesses. So giving folks as many opportunities to save their business, to prolong having to close as much as possible, maybe even bringing an employee or 2 back. This could do that. I'm seeing the success stories in other states. We're seeing comments on our petition from folks in other states talking about how well it's working for them.
Wow.
At the end of the day, we have no idea how long this is going to last. So I think the longer we wait to give a helping hand, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah, yeah. How are things going with Norden and your brand?
Oh, that's an entirely different story. We are a small brand. We're a startup. We started within the last 2 years. My background is in the hospitality industry. So many of my relationships as far as business are concerned are with bars and restaurants. We really look to the bars and restaurants to promote our spirits. And, we do some retail, but it's a smaller part of our business. So our sales are down over 90%,
Wolf.
Which is extreme.
Yeah.
The good part of that is I guess the silver lining is that we don't have our own facility. We're not facing as scary of a situation as maybe a distillery with a tasting room that can no longer operate in the way that they used to. They can't have people coming in and sitting at their bars, and they can sell packaged goods to go, but with limited hours. We don't have to worry about that. I'm the only employee right now, so we can kind of put a pause on our business for a little while, and we're just doing our best to support our friends in the industry.
Yeah. If people want to get involved with this petition, what can they do? And what are some ways other than, signing the petition online? What are some other ways people could get involved to help your cause if they're interested?
Yeah, so first things first, sign the petition if you haven't already. If you support what we're doing, share the petition in as many platforms as possible. Facebook's been the best so far for us, but Instagram, Twitter, get a group together on WhatsApp, whatever you can do to spread the word. Outside of that, I'm calling on as many people that, are being affected by this directly. If you have media contacts, anybody in the media, please reach out to them. Don't feel like I need to tell the story. I just wrote this on behalf of people. We've had close to 30 really prominent business owners sign this. Tell your friends of the media how this is affecting you and spread the word that way. We're going to continue to do our best to make contact with folks in Lansing, but any has those contacts themselves, please just let us know what's going on. Drop us a line. Share my email is robcleve81@gmail.com. ROBCLEVE81@gmail.com. Let me know how things are going for you, and I will do my best to keep everybody kind of on the same page with what we're doing.
Well, and we will link directly to the petition in the show notes.
Cool.
Robyn Cleveland, thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, joining me via Squadcast is my friend and co-host, Sven Gustafson. Welcome back to your own show.
Hey, it's really neat to be on. How do these podcast things work?
I know, right? Anyway.
Is it like radio?
For the internet.
Oh, wow.
On demand.
Yeah.
Anywho, there is news from Ford, some of which we covered a little bit, and that the UAW leaked that there were going to be respirators produced by Ford, or at least in part by Ford. But there are a whole lot more details now, and they're super interesting, Sven.
Well, thanks for saying so. Yes, Ford said today that they made it official that they are launching production of what they're calling powered air purifying respirators, or PAPR, PAPR. They're going to be building these at their Vreeland facility, which is like a building basically adjacent to its Flat Rock assembly plant. That's where they build the Ford Mustang and the Lincoln Continental. They're going to be using around 90 paid UAW volunteers with enough capacity to manufacture 100,000 of these units. And these are really kind of neat systems, or it's a really neat device that they've designed. They kind of worked with 3M to design a new version of their existing PAPR respirator. And they used like off-the-shelf things. We talked a little bit about this before, but they use things like a blower fan from the F-150 truck seat, a hood from assembly paint shops that the people used when they're spraying the bodies with paint, and then some off-the-shelf like portable battery solutions and everything. So it's really kind of an interesting thing. What's new though is that Ford has really been kind of expanding into like all kinds of new things. Like they announced today that they have joined a company called Joyson Safety Systems. This is an auto supplier based out in Auburn Hills that normally makes airbags that go into Ford vehicles. Well, they're using the nylon material that they make the airbags out of to instead make reusable, washable medical gowns that healthcare providers can use when they're treating coronavirus patients to try to mitigate the risk of infection and everything. So that's really interesting. They are talking about ramping up production to 100,000 of these gowns per week by next week and beyond, with apparently plans to cut and sew 1.3 million of these gowns by the 4th of July. So that's really interesting. Ford also said that they have converted part of their Van Dyke transmission plant up there in Macomb County to producing face masks. These are, so far, they're all face masks for their employees, like getting ready, to deploy to their factory and other workers, presumably for when they finally open up factories and get everybody back to work, as a way to try to, mitigate the risk of infection. And they're pursuing certification from the federal government to distribute these masks to medical providers eventually. So a lot of stuff going on. It's really interesting. And then the final other thing, Ford announced that they have joined a company called Thermo Fisher Scientific, which approached them about helping share their manufacturing expertise to launch to increase production of COVID-19 field testing kits. Thermo Fisher apparently has a plant somewhere near Kansas, and Ford deployed engineering specialists from its Kansas City assembly plant to go help them, and they're going to be tripling their production of these testing kits. And that's one of the things we know. Testing kits are in very short supply and very badly needed, especially if we're going to, reopen the economy safely and with confidence that it's safe to do that.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to have to be a lot of creative solutions like this, because we're looking at a deficit of literally millions of testing kits in order to make this happen.
For sure. One other thing that was kind of interesting, Ford was asked, they had this news conference today, phone conference. They were asked about, who's coordinating all this stuff, are you getting direction from the federal government? And, Ford did say that they have been working closely with the CDC and its National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, and as well as coordinating closely with FEMA. But they did say that unlike General Motors, they are working independently of the Defense Production Act. We've talked about that, and President Trump famously invoked that Korean War era law to force GM into producing ventilators, which it's doing separately. But Ford is doing all of this stuff separately from that act. That act does not apply to Ford, and they say they're coordinating with a couple of the federal agencies.
So Sven, is Ford building ventilators like GM is?
Yes, they are. We've talked about that previously, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on. It's almost hard to keep track of it, but they are planning to start ventilator production at their Rawsonville components plant that's out near Ypsilanti starting next week. They're building a third-party ventilator unit with help from GE Healthcare.
All right, that'll do it for your Daily Detroit. Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, tell a friend. We're on Apple Podcasts or wherever fine podcasts are found. I'm Jairus Days. Take care of each other, and we'll get through this together. Talk to you tomorrow.